And Dan Squadron hails from Brooklyn. He too joins us from outside the Senate chamber. Senator, thanks very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
So it's kind of crazy down there. There was just a statement that came out from your side of the aisle that actually took the governor to task and blamed him for the failure to get any of these $315 million mid-year budget cuts done. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think the first deficit bill that we saw today came like an hour and 4 minutes after special session had been called. And this is after it had been very difficult over the last week to 2 weeks to have a serious negotiation to understand what was going to happen. Look, I think we're all of the view that we want to both get the state back into order as quickly as possible, but also, be ready with the new governor coming in January and do work then. And the special session, I think, was supposed to balance those things. But, when you're called up here and you don't even see a bill until after 4 o'clock, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Legislators were often criticized for not reading the entire bill before we vote on it. In this case, I'm not sure it would have been possible on the schedule the governor laid out.
So do you actually think it was a mistake for the governor to call this thing at all? And, should he have done it?
Look, I think there are things to do, and the deficit's certainly one of them. The education budget fixes and cleanups, improvements in some cases are also important. I think the key, though, is to try and get it set up before we're up here, before you have this kind of, I think you said crazy, I'm not sure it's quite crazy, but this kind of image of the state up here not doing work, and
right.
Legislators getting their per diems. It costs money to be up here. We should come up here at the point at which we know what it is we're going to have to vote on. We should debate it and vote on it, not come up here and sort of be waiting around for, I'm not sure if it's last-second brinksmanship or if it's an attempt to pin some kind of failure on the legislature. In either case, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, the interesting thing, though, is, for example, the governor had some 100 and some odd appointments that he wanted the Senate to confirm, and he ended up taking many of those off with the exception of just a handful of judicial appointments. And there was a lot of scuttlebutt that actually that was sort of a way for the Senate to send a message to the governor, like, we don't want to do this for you, and we're angry at you, and you're a lame duck, and we're waiting for the next guy. Is that true?
Well, look, a lot of the appointments that went through were gubernatorial priorities. Certainly the judicial ones were. A number of them are current staffers of the governor. So, the nominations that got sent down, we acted on. I think that there's no question that you don't want to, at the end of an administration, be just doing every single nomination you can think of. There is a new administration coming in. Look, there were more that I would have been willing to consider. I think we considered the ones the governor sent. Look, the governor called us up here for a special session because there are things that have to get done. We came up here at the time the governor called, and the bills weren't ready. There was no agreement, not only no agreement, there was no hard and fast proposal. And that's a problem.
You are actually, though, criticized when there is agreement on the front end. In other words, there's a lot of criticism, there's everything happening in secret and the leaders are meeting and the public can't watch, and there's an agreement and you just come up and debate it a little maybe and rubber stamp it. Now you're saying, okay, but maybe we should have done some agreement. So where's the happy medium there?
Well, if you feel that today we've really seen a great example of transparency and
I didn't say that.
process at work, then look, if we had a system in place, and this would be the best thing, where we did a lot of this stuff through conference committee, we had negotiating teams that either negotiated in public or reported to the public regularly. That's obviously the way we should be doing things here. The question here isn't, are we having a more open negotiating process or a more closed one? It's, are we being called up here to do something specific that's ready to go, or are we not?
How much, if at all, has Governor-elect Cuomo been prevalent? And I don't mean just physically. Obviously, he's not there, and he's very sensitive to the idea that there's one governor at a time. He likes to say that quite frequently. However, has he made his desires known? It is just a few weeks before he takes office.
Look, I haven't spoken to him. My understanding, although you could correct me if I'm wrong, is that he has suggested that some of these priorities today were ones that he thought were important to get done. Look, I think that there's clearly only one governor at a time, and everyone's respecting that, including the governor-elect, on the one hand, and that's very important. On the other hand, we do have a new governor coming in with a huge electoral mandate. In my view, a huge mandate to really come in and start getting some work done. You don't want to forestall any of that. Look, that wasn't the problem with today's proposed agenda. It was limited. I think most of it was very important to do. The problem is it wasn't ready.
What is going to happen for the remainder of the night? There are some people talking about pretty late night, and all of a sudden you see things popping out of the woodwork. Now the Senate's got the Judicial Pay Commission on the agenda. The Assembly does not yet have it on there. There's some talk about lawmakers holding out because they'd like to see their own pay raised. So what's going on?
And look, that was one of the bills that the governor proposed. Look, there's another problem going on here, and I don't think this gets talked about enough. Senator Sampson, the Democratic leader last week, sent a letter to Senator Skelos saying, look, let's not go up there and get into a partisan battle. Let's meet, talk ahead of time, do things in a bipartisan way. As far as I know, Senator Skelos didn't respond to that letter, didn't respond to that move. So I frankly don't know, even with the couple of bills that are ready, whether we're going to see them moved on in a bipartisan fashion or whether we're going to see the Republicans stonewall in a way that prevents them from passing.
But you actually have 32 members in the chamber, some of whom are actually going out. They're about to leave because they were either retiring or they lost their elections. So you have the votes. If you really want to pass something, you've got to hang the conference together, which is difficult. But really, to turn that on its head, why should Senator Sampson meet with Senator Skelos, or the other way around, Skelos meet with Sampson, when he thinks that he might actually take the chamber? He wants to wait until he's in control of things.
Well, look, in this case, we're talking about a meeting in order to make sure that what we're potentially facing for the rest of the night doesn't happen. Right now, the Democrats, as you point out, still do have the majority, but, you know, we have, I think, close to 20% of our conference not returning, so folks showed up. But at this point, we're in a transition. I'm not so sure we're in a transition to a Republican leadership. I just want to be clear that I'm not agreeing to that. But we're in some sort of transition. There's no doubt about that. The point is, today, let's operate in a bipartisan way, despite the fact that Democrats still unquestionably have the majority. I believe we will in January, but we certainly do right now.
Okay, you know, I just got to ask you in parting, I have so far seen the 27-day post-general election filing from the Republicans. I haven't seen it from the Democrats, but it's pretty common knowledge that the Democrats were at least $2 million in debt. The Republicans are in the black. Where are you going to fall? Do you know?
So where, sorry?
Where are the Democrats going to end up? Are you guys still in the red?
I actually don't know that from the perspective of the DSCC. I know that recounts are expensive and they're going on, making sure that every vote is counted still in 3 races. And I know that some folks are still fundraising aggressively to make sure the DSCC is okay. I'm sure it will be.
Okay, and in parting, I just got to ask you, how do you feel about being bumped from your youngest senator in the chamber status by David Carlucci?
You know, I got to tell you, I think I saw Senator Perkins today was sporting a beard. I'm no longer the youngest, no longer the only one with the beard. I'm going to have to find some other angle for the next term.
Okay, well, when you do that, you let us know. In the meantime, Senator Dan Squadron, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Liz.